Hey guys, this is Mag212, and this is my attempt at replicating the battle rifle from Halo. I know that the appearance of the battle rifle varies based on what Halo game you are talking about, but this was designed after the battle rifle in later Halo games. So this is just a Longshot, which I have modified to look like the battle rifle. I'll go over all of the external modifications that make it look like the battle rifle, and then I'll delve into the internal modifications and the paint job. Starting with some of the external modifications that make it kind of look like the battle rifle, I have added a part of a stampede. I used hot glue to bond that to the Longshot after I cut off the bipod mount, and then I have some rigid PETG pipes right here, as well as some epoxy putty, which I have sanded so it's very smooth and it looks very nice. And then in the front, just to cover the ugliness of the inside of the integration, I have two pieces of plastic, which I also cut off of the Stampede. I've just totally massacred this Stampede, and I feel so bad for it because I've taken the stock off, I've taken whatever part this was, cut off two pieces of plastic for this gap, and I've also taken off the top rail, so it's in pretty poor condition, but I think that it looks very nice on the Longshot, and I'm happy that I did it. In addition to integrating the Stampede foregrip, I have cut down the front of the Longshot on an angle here, and then just made it a little shorter so that it would be flush with the Stampede part, and so it would look a little more like the battle rifle. And then coming out of here, I have an extended barrel. I actually had to glue two barrels together. To extend this. And then I have a PVC coupler right here and some electrical tape right here just to make it look pretty cool. Moving back, not much external, but I do have a Nitron Scope, which I have heavily modified. I cut down the front of the Nitron Scope here, and I did that for a couple of reasons. First, my Nitron Scope was broken, so I had to fix it up a little bit, and I had to cut off this part, and I cut it so that it looks a little bit more like the scope on the battle rifle. It doesn't have that little nub to lock on, but the friction is definitely enough to hold it onto the rail, and it's not going to fall off. And since I have cut off the battery portion of the scope to make it look better, it no longer lights up, but that's okay because the green lights would have been a little off with this gray paint scheme. Kind of an external aesthetic modification, I have cut down the trigger. Usually the trigger is covering this whole portion right here, but I cut it to kind of make it look more like the trigger on a firearm. That doesn't sacrifice the integrity of the trigger, so I'll be doing that to other guns too. And in the back I have a stock block so that the stock won't compress if I put pressure on it or if I prime against myself. Now getting on to the internal modification, I have added a spring. It's actually an Orange ModWorks 5 kilogram spring in addition to the stock Longshot spring. In addition to that, I did all the normal things like filling the breech holes so that no air is escaping, and I also took out the dart post and the air restrictor. On this Longshot, I also filled the dead space with hot glue. I haven't noticed any significant performance increase, but I did it anyway. And I also used a 1/2-inch spade bit just to Dremel out the back of the breech so that it can accept streamlines. With a lot of the old Longshots, I've neglected to mention that I've been doing that, because if you don't do that, you won't be able to chamber elite darts. But I think that's pretty much it for the internal mods. I lubricated the trigger, the bolt sled, the access door, just so that everything is smooth, and it works really well. Now on to the paint scheme. Of course, this was painted after the battle rifle from the later versions of Halo. The base coat was a Rust-Oleum gray primer, which I use, and then I have Citadel Abaddon black, but some parts like this barrel are just black vinyl dye, and I use silver dry brushing over everything, and I did some stripes in a kind of brownish orange color. The name of the paint is Baylor Brown, but it does look a little bit orange to me, and in my opinion this is the perfect shade, and the stripe kind of makes it look a lot like the battle rifle. So I know I've been talking about it a lot, and this video is getting rather long, so I'll show you it firing and then get to my conclusion. So as you can see, shooting much better than unmodified Nerf guns, and especially much better than the stock Longshot, although it's not getting near the peak performance of a Longshot. I wasn't going for a super performance-driven blaster. I just wanted a Longshot that looked super cool and didn't have atrocious performance. And I think I've succeeded in that. The prime is still very light, so I can do it one-handed, and it's very fast rate of fire-wise compared to some other Longshots which have K26 springs and K25 springs. As always, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.